Hey everybody, God bless you. This is Pastor Lester, and this is another episode of FaceTime. Whenever I'm teaching on the subject of living out of your salvation, I will always ask the question, what does living out of your salvation mean? And too often than not, I'll get a response back that says something about purpose. Well, living out of my salvation is living with purpose, to which I'll then follow that statement up with another question. What does purpose mean? What does purpose look like to the believer? Most of the time, ladies and gentlemen, the Christian has a hard time answering that question. They don't know what purpose looks like. They love the word and they love knowing that God has purpose for their life, but they don't know how to answer the question. Did you know that the word plan and the word purpose coexist together? They're one and the same. In Jeremiah 29:11, a passage that you and I are very familiar with, God defines in 4 ways, He defines the plan that He has for your life. Now, it may not be the details you want to hear, but ladies and gentlemen, it's what you need to hear in order to cooperate and coexist with God as spiritual sons and daughters and Him as your Father. He says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." There's 4 things in this passage that you need to understand regarding God's purpose and plan for your life. Number 1, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to, number 1, prosper you. God's going to prosper you. That much you can be assured of. Plans not to harm you. Number 2, plans to prosper you and not to harm you. That's the second thing. God will never harm you. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, David said, or their seed begging bread. God is going to prosper you and not harm you. And then he says the third thing, plans to give you hope. God is going to establish hope in you, ladies and gentlemen. And if God establishes hope in you, it's because He intends to see that hope come to pass. He intends to cause what is supernatural, what is spiritual, to eventually become natural in your life, which He defines as the fourth thing. He's going to give you a future. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting thing for us, and I hope that you can get this in your spirit. You may not know the details of God's plan for your life or purpose, but God gives you 4 definitive things in that passage that you can hold on to, knowing that God's plan for your life is a solid plan. You don't need a backup. God's plan is solid. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord." Plans to, number 1, prosper you. Number 2, not to harm you. Number 3, plans to give you hope. Number 4, to give you a future. My goodness, this is good. God bless you. I love you. And I pray that you walk into everything that God has for you today.